Today marks the end of the multiversal Naruto meta, since Noodles, the Naruto guy, debunked it himself. It looked legitimate on face value, but every universal argument discussed is based on fake panels, and to make it even worse, these people had to lie to try cover up their deception. One of my favorite sayings, which is actually a JC quote, is this: the truth will set you free. So today, my goal is to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Noodles is guilty of presenting false evidence and perjury, which depending on the jurisdiction could be a nasty 14-year imprisonment. Like, let's just pretend for a moment this is a murder case. Presenting false evidence is not acceptable. So my question to you is, why do so many people believe it? Any reasonable person wouldn't accept any argument as valid with fake evidence, unless they're extremely biased. So let's jump into the first point.
Sasuke's teleportation ninjutsu, by the way, it has nothing to do with Kamui. Absolutely zero things to do with Kamui.
No shit.
So I don't know why he's saying that.
Yeah, that's not even like a relation there.
Yeah, exactly.
He's got good brains.
Noodles claims I said Obito's Kamui equals Sasuke's teleportation. I never said that. So this is known as a straw man argument. So what is a straw man fallacy? Well, a straw man fallacy is when someone is arguing against a false or distorted version of someone else's actual argument. Point 2. I claim that certain jutsu are connected to the user's dimensions. On screen, I typed all dimensions connected to the user. This does not mean all jutsu is connected. Noodles says at 5:59,
I don't even know why, if all teleportation ninjutsu is connected.
All jutsu are connected. Then proceeds to give the example that not everyone is connected to all jutsu. At 7:20,
Kakashi's Kamui is not connected to the Flying Thunder God.
I didn't say that all teleportation jutsu is connected to all users. This is what I said. Jutsu is connected to the user. So certain people, showing that Noodles' comprehension level is net zero. Noodles is arguing with himself, and he's claiming he debunked me from using points I never made. This is the second straw man he's used.
Dog, that just sounds like Sasuke learned to, teleport to Kaguya's dimension when he previously couldn't, right? And that could be because he learned to teleport infinite distance.
So again, prove it. The burden of proof is on both of you. You haven't proven that there is an infinite distance. Not to mention, why are you guys trying to 2v1 me? Like, really? You're going to try get, well, how many people did you have in your stream again? 66 people plus Saiboshi to try and debunk one man. Bruh. So my point was this: Sasuke as a teen could only swap objects using the Ame no Teji. As an adult, he learns how to connect and teleport to Kaguya's dimension. These are two different abilities. Therefore, Sasuke being unable to travel to Kaguya's dimension using an object swap technique does not prove Kaguya's dimension is infinite. It proves nothing. Why? It only proves that he can't swap with anything there because he can't see it. When Obito opened the portal, Sasuke was able to swap out with Sakura's jacket. The ability was limited by the fact that he has to swap with something, not because of the distance. He even stated without the jacket he couldn't have made the jump from one dimension to another. In Boruto, he uses a completely different technique from the finite swap technique. So just recapping this point here, you haven't proven that there is an infinite distance. All that was proven is that the Ame no Teji cannot teleport beyond Sasuke's vision, and that this ability could not get to Kaguya's dimension. Sasuke's portal ability could make it to Kaguya's dimension, but this does not inherently mean it is an infinite traveling ability. Now, in order to be a universal level, it says characters who demonstrate an infinite amount of energy on a 3D scale. So if you have an infinite amount of energy, it's highly likely that you're universal because our universe is infinite. This means that it's most likely true that Kaguya is not universal because she does not have an infinite amount of energy. Sasuke has limits, therefore proving his energy is finite. His teleportation is also finite. Just look at the language of the panel. It says he can only take a limited number with me. That doesn't sound very infinite to me. Fallacy number 4 and 5 is what I'm up to because I counted 3 straw mans. Because you never proved that Sasuke could teleport an infinite distance, and you mistakenly correlated that Sasuke could now teleport infinite distances because he could not when he was using Ame no Teji, because it's a finite ability. When in actuality, it's a swap technique, and that was the real reason he couldn't use that ability to get to her dimensions. Second, when he teleports using a different ability, not the same ability, which is what you guys were saying, he got stronger and now he can teleport infinitely. He stated it himself. It takes a ton of chakra and he has limits, proving it's not an infinite distance and it exists somewhere in the same universe. So the correlation fallacy is established here because you didn't prove the distance is infinite, and you mistakenly claimed that the reason Sasuke couldn't get to the other dimension was because the ability only traveled finite distances when it was more to do with being able to swap things. It has a finite limit. He cannot travel beyond his chakra, that he can only teleport a few people at a time, so it's limited, it's finite. End of debate. Just to explain that the kanji that was used to translate heaven and earth is also used for universe.
That's not what I said at all.
Yes, you did say that. You said in the Japanese, you liar. You're backpedaling. Don't educate the public on Japanese if you don't understand it. Then be like, I never said, I never. Stop pretending like it never happened. You spent 5 minutes trying to deny it, from like 7 minutes to 13 minutes in your rebunk, but it's on recording. Plus your intention to educate the public in Japanese is there.
And why would I show the Japanese panel when my audience doesn't speak Japanese?
So if you're saying you never intended to share the Japanese because your audience isn't Japanese, then why bring up the kanji? Why bring up the kanji when your audience doesn't speak Japanese? Like, saying in the Japanese as if you're translating from the Japanese is elusive and misleading. If you weren't talking about the Japanese panel, then why did you say in the Japanese right after? You just felt like switching to a Japanese lesson to your non-Japanese audience all of a sudden? Yeah, highly unlikely. I wouldn't be going to Noodle Sensei for Japanese lessons. I'd be going for some chamoy dimensions.
Yeah, pronunciation doesn't change the meaning of the words.
Kamoi.
Yes, it does. Kamoi means sliding door.
It's kamui.
Kamoi. Kamui. Kamui.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how you pronounce Kamui. I don't know where you get.
That's
where
just
he
how
got
everyone
Kamui
pronounces
from.
kamui too.
Kamui! 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 Sopaku! Kamui! Kamui! Kamui!
Yes, everyone in your circle of friends, but not the actor for Kakashi in the native language of the author. If you actually watch Naruto, you would know it's Kamui.
Too. Like, you're the, like, I'm sorry I'm not a nerd that actually speaks Japanese.
And I'm not sorry because I'm not a nerd and I didn't just learn Japanese for anime like you did. I actually went to Japan with the intent to serve and help others. Literally, all I did for 2 years was nothing but help people. I taught English for free. We did community service. This is a picture of us doing gardening in the local gardens for the entire community. We also were teaching Eikaiwa or English class. We fed the homeless. We also gave them clothes and places to go when they had nowhere else to go. And that's the reason why I took on Japanese in the first place, because it was part of the job. If I wanted to help people in Japanese, I need to learn the language. So it was compulsory. I didn't learn because I wanted to watch anime. It was actually because it was part of my life and I love to help people. And that's what I was doing in Japan. So if learning Japanese for the sole purpose of helping others makes me nerdy, then so be it. I want to be nerdy. Everybody should be nerdy then, because it's such a good thing. Like, everyone should be getting out there, serving others, and being selfless.
We gotta say it. We gotta say it as Kamui for the rest of the video.
Kamui. Yeah, we're gonna say Kamui. Yeah, if anyone has an accent, by the way, you're just discredited. You got a southern accent? Sorry, buddy. You pronounce things weird. Your arguments are gone. I hate to say it, bro.
Kamui.
Yeah, you got a French accent? Well, that sucks. That sucks. You mispronouncing stuff, man.
Pronunciation is actually really important. It doesn't matter what language. Flip, if you tried to come to Australia and everyone was like, "G'day, mate, how's it going? Get it in ya, you bloody gronk." Like, you'd have no idea what's going on, especially if you went to New Zealand and then someone was like, "Oh, turbo scucks, my moldy." Like, you would have no idea what I'm saying. That is why you have different languages, different accents and pronunciations. Now, with Japanese, for example, if I said ame versus ame, one means candy, the other means rain. Very big difference. So yes, pronunciation does matter, because what you're currently saying is sliding door. Every time you say kamoi, you're saying sliding door, as opposed to kamui, which refers to Kakashi's ability.
When you read a 9-page script, all in one take, 1 or 2 takes, you know, you tend to stumble over some words.
When you read a 9-page script, you make a mistake. Like, bruh, that sounds like you're making up excuses for incompetence. You are willing to defend yourself, but you failed to take ownership of your mistakes.
You knew. You fucking knew!
Just apologize and move on and admit you're wrong. I said something in English like, "That cost me an arm and a leg." I'm trying to say that this is expensive, right? Similar to this. It's not that Itachi can see everything in the universe. Otherwise, Sasuke's Mangekyo Sharingan vision should be greater than Ada's in the current...
Okay.
This is
Man.
a point and a half right here.
So, for one, the whole analogy thing that cost me an arm and a leg, right? That's a hyperbolic statement.
Hyperbole. In the titles, it's very obvious that many titles are hyperboles. Temmari is universal, according to the data books. Remember, she uses the kanji bunsho, which is all things in creation. This is the kanji that you keep bringing back up later in the video. We'll see that towards the hour mark. But anyways, using the data books, Temmari is 100% universal. She can blow away the universe. And by your logic, if we're saying all these titles are true, that means Kinshiki should have been splitting worlds with every strike, but he never did. It's contradicted. Temmari should have blown away the universe with every fan strike, but it was contradicted. Itachi should have seen the universe with his Mangekyo Sharingan, according to your logic, but this is contradicted. Kurama should have turned the world to ash with every attack, but it's contradicted. Why? Because hyperboles exist in Naruto. They're a thing.
Who's to say it's wrong? Like, why are you saying that? It's literally the entire purpose of the data book is to tell us what these jutsu do.
So who's to say it's wrong? Well, evidence-based claims are true. One-off statements need to be supported by evidence. Otherwise, it's a hyperbole. That's why the Sengoku statement that Whitebeard had the power to destroy the Earth was considered a hyperbole. But with recent events in the One Piece manga, we know that Luffy now has a new power, and that is why it's actually considered not a hyperbole, because it's some more evidence to support the fact that Whitebeard really was that strong. Now, if Itachi really could see the entire universe, then why did he think Tobi was Madara? But there's no proof of this, Noodles. That's why it's literally in the hyperbole rules saying because no one in the entire verse has done this feat, the statement is invalidated.
Didn't even describe how the eyes work properly in this video either.
Yes, I did. I literally stated Ada's clairvoyance.
Yeah.
And there's no way that he could say one is better than the other since they serve two different purposes. Like, they're not something that is a comparison that you could just say, well, this one's 100% better.
Bruh, like, listen, can Itachi's Mangekyo Sharingan see the past? Can it see all events happening in real time? The answer is no. If Itachi could see all events, he would never have been hit, and if he could see the past, he would have obtained the Rinnegan, because he would understand how to evolve the Mangekyo Sharingan into the Rinnegan. Like, why did Madara give up his Mangekyo Sharingan if the Rinnegan is worse? Madara went through an insane amount of effort to upgrade to dual Rinnegan for nothing? Like, how is a special Rinnegan, aka Ada's eyes, not an obvious clear-cut better thing? Like, what? Sasuke couldn't even see the Limbo clones without the Rin Sharingan. So you're saying dual Mangekyo Sharingan Sasuke is greater than Rin Sharingan Sasuke. And Saiboshi, blink twice if you're being held hostage by Noodles. How much did he pay you to say this? It's not worth your entire career. I will forever remember you as the guy who thinks Mangekyo Sharingan Sasuke is equal to the Rin Sharingan.
She who knows everything in this world.
Now, Code has heard. That's hearsay evidence. You can't use that in court, bruv.
Objection hearsay. Oh my god, I don't have a case. Objection hearsay. Now I'm ashamed to show my face.
With all of its countries, people, and natural features, it can mean that. It can mean society, like all of people, society, and institutions on Earth. Or it can just mean the material universe or all that exists.
So if you Google the definition for world, it doesn't say universe for UK English countries. If you go to the Oxford Dictionary, Google's source for their definition, the US dictionary is different to the UK. UK says world cannot ever mean universe, but the US dictionary says world can mean the material universe or all that exists, everything. He mentions many times throughout this video all the way till the end. He basically banks on this one argument throughout the entire video, that world means universe. Now just think about that for that moment. If world means universe, then Psyche K is multiversal. That same logic applies for every verse. Anyone that's ever been stated to be able to destroy the world is now universal, according to Noodles. So we've got planet busting Deku, we've got planet busting Titans. So here's an example of what an actual feat would look like. So you've got Ultron eating a galaxy. So this is a galaxy level feat, right? But the Osutsuki are not even on that level. They go from planet to planet, devouring the life of the planet using trees. Like, they don't even do it themselves. They don't just bite the planet. Like, if they really were universe busters or creators, why can't they just bust or create or eat universes? And why don't we have any proof of that? Let's look at the origin of the Old English word for world. It comes from a Germanic compound meaning age of man. Anything that is created by man is part of the world. Now, if you look at universe, it's actually talking about the universe as a whole. So the world equals Earth, while the universe equals Earth and space, including the great unknown. Because you have to look at the origin of the English word for world. It's not talking about the universe or of planets and spaces and so forth. And in the UK Oxford Dictionary English definition, it can only mean world. Otherwise, they would have said universe or uchu, which is the correct word for universe in Japanese. In fact, it was never once used in any of the novels, data books, manga, or the anime, or even the films. So given the overwhelming evidence that these dimensions are worlds and planets, and the fact that there are 0 universal statements of Uchu, it's therefore impossible that world can mean universe in Naruto. Now, if you look at the moon and the people that are living there in the Naruto world, they're not actually humans. The Osutsuki clan live on the moon. The people that live on the Shinobi world are human, but the Osutsuki came to the Shinobi world, which are aliens. They're stated to be alien parasites. So these people do not pertain to the world. Anything that they're touching and influencing do not pertain to the world. The world is the age of man, or anything relative to the world that humans or mankind live in. Man has not created any planets or solar systems even in this verse. If they have created, like, you know, the entire solar system and everything in creation, then that's a different story, but that's not what happened. And it would be directly contradicted, because otherwise Tamari should have destroyed everything in creation. So by definition, no, the history of the word world is world and universe is universe. Otherwise, you may as well just make them interchangeable. Why do we have the word universe and world as a separate? They should just be the same.
No. All I need is a statement that it's a time space.
All I need is a statement. Well, no. In Versus Battle Wiki, rules for power scaling universes are as follows. If they are outright stated to be completely separated by the barriers of time and space, in other words, they're time space or something like that, right? And either stated or shown to be reasonable in size, such as having countless galaxies, then they should indeed be universes. So no, you lied. You actually do need proof of the size. You need to actually have some sort of statement or proof or evidence that they are a universe in size. Now, the following statements are not enough to call them universes. Having a starry sky may qualify as being a multi-solar system size pocket reality, but not enough to be a universe. The same is true if they had multiple galaxies. This is like in relation to Momoshiki's starry sky, but the thing is that he did not create the starry sky. He only was stated to have affected the actual planet that he was standing on. Here, Stanford University defines spacetime as a point of existence on the continuum, which means it's possible to have many spacetimes within the same continuum. The burden of proof falls therefore on you noodles to prove that Kaguya's dimension includes all of space and time, like the entire continuum, that Kaguya's dimensions include all planets, stars, galaxies, and solar system. You need a manga statement saying her dimensions include both of these things. If we use standard versus battle rules for defining universes, because his definition for universe does not include proof of the size of the dimension, whereas normally in versus battles you have to prove with evidence the size, because statements alone could be hyperboles. So no, Noodles, you're quite wrong about this. Statements alone are not enough to call them universes. You need proof of their size. So the kanji for space-time continuum is Jiku Sekai. They've never used Jiku Sekai ever, which means that Kaguya's dimensions, if anything, are just a Jiku, which means a specific object existing within a regular universe. Every planet or object is its own space-time, or a point of existence in the continuum. Congratulations, Noodles. You just prove Kaguya's dimensions exist within our universe and that it's not infinite and universal in size. You debunked your whole scale yourself. If Kaguya's dimensions are spacetimes, that means it exists within the same spacetime continuum. You already established, you said it yourself, that it's a Jiku, not a Jiku Sekai, which is a continuum. Big difference. Unless you can prove her dimension was stated to exist outside the regular universe, it defaults to being within. So actually, it's not an argument from ignorance. You arguing that Kaguya's dimensions are infinite is an argument from ignorance. You have to prove it's infinite. That's not my burden to prove. I'm not the one trying to prove that she's universal. You are. Now, this little picture is actually depicting not the curvature of space, but instead it represents the coordinate system imposed on the curved space-time. So space-time itself is curved, but it's not telling you how much it's curved by. It's just basically a grid to determine the location, right? Now, what's even crazier is that Momoshiki and Kinshiki literally use these exact words. They talk about the curvature of space-time, and they're giving the coordinates of Kaguya's dimension. Take note that they translated Sekai to be world, and they didn't translate it to be universe, and, you know, they're pretty good for their job. Like, I don't think that Viz is biased.
Doesn't matter if it's in notes or whatever other app they're using to text on it.
Yeah, because there is no official English translation of the Boruto movie novel. Okay, there is none. There's no official translation.
It's only in just raw Japanese. So the only way that we can get anything out of it is if we can translate it.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. It matters because this translation sucks. Who translated it to be universe when the kanjis for universe never appeared once. Why did you dodge the point, Noodles? At 41 minutes, my point here is you're not even using valid translations. Like, your entire argument was addressed. You said I never talked about hyperspaces, but in the video you clipped me literally talking about hyperspaces. I have the recording. He says, is this some sort of subspace or hyperspace, which is a space existing within another space? The beginning of the novel explains the events take place on a planet. Read the novel. This is what it says. Somewhere in an unknown world. The world they are describing is not a universe rather than a planet. I mean, they literally use planet as well, by the way. So this is what it says. Somewhere in an unknown world, the dying fiery sun emitted a synchrotron radiation as it agonized, making the Earth's surface coppery like a bright and colorful northern aurora. Reduced to ruins, a great metropolis full of innumerable deaths. In its center was a noble person who wore a celestial robe that had never been touched by a speck of dust, was sitting on a large stump biting something. At first glance, his appearance was that of a beautiful young man, but he exuded an ugliness with his cruel, cunning, and even evil expression. From his head grew 2 horns that curved inward, proving that he wasn't a human being, and in both eyes he had the Byakugan. So we already confirmed that these events took place on a world, because the entire novel describes the world or the place that it was on, and it wasn't a universe. The description was not a solar system or galaxies or a big dimension. So let's clear up a little bit about what 4D means. In physics, our universe consists of 3 dimensions of space and 1 dimension of time. That's a total of 4 dimensions. In power scaling, however, it scales characters according to their spatial dimensions. So regular humans are 3D on the tiering system. Otherwise, Happy117, me in real life, I'm a multiversal being, simply because I'm able to influence other objects that currently exist in a 4-dimensional structure. So no, humans are just 3D in power scaling. Or to Noodle's standards, all humans are multiversal and can punch multiverses. And the reason why I say this is because he claims that a hyperspace is 3 dimensions of space and 1 dimension of time. That is the same as a regular time-space. So humans are also 3-dimensional beings that exist within the same timeline, which makes them 3 dimensions of space and 1 of time. In other words, 4D according to Noodle's definition. So this proves that these hyperspaces have the same properties as our regular universe, meaning that they exist within the same universe. So now what the actual definition of 4D is this. It's an equivalent to a large dimensional space that is a higher dimensional bulk space which embeds low dimensions, such as our universe. You've got a 4D dimension, and then you've got our universe existing underneath it. That's not the case. So this hyperspace was never stated to be a greater, higher dimensional, so it can't be 4D by that definition. Furthermore, it has to be portrayed as completely transcending low dimensional objects. So there has to be regular humans live on this level, and then you've got this transcended dimension. That's the 4th dimension, right? In this case, it's not the case. We don't have a 4th dimension in spatiality.
In science fiction, a hypothetical space-time continuum used for communication at speeds faster than light. This is the definition Happy wants. A notional
just
space-time continuum. So
creating space-time continuum.
If we're using those definitions, what's a space?
So the funny thing is, by Noodles explaining that it's a hyperspace, he unironically proved that Momoshiki's dimension has the same dimensional properties as a regular human, or should I say, the same dimensional properties as a regular planet, because other planets have the properties of 3 dimensions of space and 1 dimension of time. Secondly, this hyperspace was never stated to have embedded beneath it other universes to suggest that it's a higher dimensional bulk or a 4-dimensional construct. It's just another random space, suggesting it's on the same plane of existence, aka existing within the regular Naruto verse. So let's use the Oxford Dictionary, because he loves to use Google, which is where they get their references from, and it says a hyperspace coexists with the same space-time continuum, because a regular universe consists of 3 dimensions of space and 1 of time. And so does planets, so do human beings, so do many things. Thirdly, the novel description is not describing a universe. It's explaining a planet or world with a low-level civilization that was wiped out by Momoshiki and Kinshiki, which would actually suggest Momoshiki was in fact weaker than Kaguya. So the final and funniest point of Noodle's garbage video is this.
And all things in creation, man, it's almost like we went over this earlier.
Wow, Happy?
Again?
All things in creation? All things in nature?
So Shinra Bansho apparently equals everything in creation. So you're telling me that Tamari can destroy everything in creation? Because the same Bansho was used to explain that Tamari can blow away everything in the universe. Because Bansho is just a different variation from Shinra Bansho. It means the same thing. You're basically claiming Tamari is multiversal as well. I'll take Base Hulk and you can take Tamari. Good luck proving that, bro. Like, good luck proving multiversal Tamari.
You don't know anything about Naruto. I am the Naruto guy.
You just told the entire world you're a biased source. and you can't be trusted. I'll say it now and I'll say it again. I couldn't care less if Luffy beats Naruto, or Deku beats Naruto for that matter. I'm just giving my honest opinion on who I think wins and why. I don't just love Naruto. I love all fiction. I love Marvel, DC, The Elder Scroll, and even Hunter x Hunter, which is considered the dad of Naruto, to which you haven't even seen. And you said it yourself, you can't give it an opinion on that. This just proves your bias even more. Whether I call you Kappa Noodles or Bias Noodles, it's one and the same. Therefore, I will leave this topic up to the people, and the people can decide for themselves who is more reasonable, who is more rational, and who is unbiased. Thank you for taking the time to watch my videos, support me, and my content. I love you all. Have a great rest of your week. Peace. Now, I know what you're thinking, and you're probably like, what the heck is this screenshot? Well, anyways, this is a screenshot of Noodles trying to comment on my community page, but what happened on YouTube was that he deleted his comments. Now, the real question is, why? And luckily for my follower, he actually took some screenshots of what Noodles said. So basically the discussion they had was, why did Noodles kick Happy from his server when he asked to debate Noodles? Not only did Noodles not want to debate, but Happy had to go into Noodles' server and then ask to debate him just for Noodles to kick him. And this is the reasoning why Noodles kicked Happy. It's my server, so I think I'm justified for kicking anyone out if I don't like them being there. Dishonesty is explicitly not tolerated in my server. To which this follower replied, if dishonesty is not tolerated, you claimed earlier my comments were 100% wrong, yet the only rebuttal to my 2 points was 1, you can kick out whoever you want, dictator mentality, and 2, he's dishonest. New argument not presented previously. You never said that rule, that you're just going to kick out anyone that's dishonest in your server. Based on these things alone, you have not proven how I was 100% wrong. Maybe a little, but not 100%. So that makes you dishonest. Are you going to keep your word and keep only honest people in your server by kicking yourself out? Also, if dishonesty is not tolerated, why do you want to bring him back to debate? Is he honest now, all of a sudden? Like, have you changed your server rules and now you're going to allow him in your server? So you can stop asking me to debate him now because this is proof. I also have a 10-minute conversation with Seth the programmer as to why the dude kicked me out of his server. So I don't know why people are claiming I'm ducking when I'm not the one who's banned from his server. So whatever. It is what it is, and I'm making these videos because I got blocked. So peace out.